Nuri,
네?
look up.
왜요?
Can you see the calendar?
안 보이는데?
How about now?
이제 보여요.
Good.
잘 안 보이는데 조금만 더 크게 보여주실 수 있어요?
Okay, wait a little bit. You see the day I circled here, right? What day is this?
아, 빨간 날이네. 쉬는 날이에요.
Hey,
아, 장난이에요. 당연히 알죠. 한글날이에요. 한글날.
what do we commemorate on Hangeul Day?
한글날은 한글 창제를 기념하는 날이에요.
Yes, let me explain further. Let's learn about Hangeul before we move on. Hangeul Day is a national holiday commemorating the creation and promulgation of the Korean alphabet, Hangeul. Designated October 9th, it celebrates the excellence of Hangeul. King Sejong the Great, the fourth king of the Joseon dynasty, realized that it was difficult to write Korean words with Chinese characters, which ordinary people had little chance to learn, so he proceeded with the creation of Hangeul. In December 1443, 28 letters were created under the name Hunminjeongeum and promulgated in September 1446. Hangeul is the only alphabet in the world whose creator and time of creation are clear and accurate. Meanwhile, Hunminjeongeum Hede, a book containing the purpose and principles of Hangeul, was recognized for its global importance, originality, and irreplaceability and was registered as a UNESCO Memory of the World Register in October 1997. Then we need to do something for this day.
뭘 해요?
You don't know.
아니, 뭐 해야죠? 이거 요즘 뭐 톡톡님이 밀고 있는 유행어 같은 거예요?
You know what we need to do.
뭐요? 한글날 특집?
Correct.
역시.
I've specially recruited an embassy to do a special feature for Hangeul Day.
섭외가 된 거예요? 어디예요?
I'll give you a hint.
또 퀴즈네요.
The first hint. Look up. A country whose writing system was listed as a UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity in 2019.
네.
You don't know.
몰라요.
The second hint. A country that has a script that's been used for over 2,000 years. Guess.
아, 어디였더라? 아, 잘 기억이 안 나네요.
The third hint. Let me show you a letter.
이게 문자예요? 이거 이모티콘에 쓰는 거잖아요. 뿌잉뿌잉 이모티콘에 쓰는 거잖아요. 뿌잉뿌잉.
But these are letters. Isn't that surprising?
어느 나라 문자인데요?
Which country is it? Can you guess?
안녕하세요 여러분, 대사관 전문 PD 나누리입니다. 짝짝짝짝짝짝. 오늘 저희가 다리가 되어서 한국과 연결해 볼 국가는 바로
Everyone, do you remember the hint we gave you last time?
한글날 특집. 여러분, 세계에 자국의 고유 문자를 가지고 있는 나라가 몇 개 안 되는 거 아시나요? 그 중에 하나가 바로 한국, 한글을 가지고 있죠. 또 그 중에 한 국가가 바로
The answer is Let's go inside right away to meet the ambassador.
Hello,
it's raining.
Ambassador.
Hello.
Nice to meet
Welcome.
you.
안녕하세요. Nice
안녕하세요.
meeting you.
까마르조바.
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 This is the ambassador of Georgia. Yes, the country we will be bridging together with Korea today is Georgia. Let us give you a brief introduction to Georgia. Tok Tok, take it away.
Georgia, along with its neighboring countries Azerbaijan and Armenia, make up the region known as the Caucasus. Georgia has a long history, located at a strategic point where Europe, Asia, and the Middle East come together, and where interests between powerful countries diverge. That is why the country has historically been subject to numerous foreign invasions. Georgia was incorporated into the Soviet Union in 1921 and became independent once again in April 1991. Despite many foreign invasions, Georgia has maintained its unique culture and language. In particular, much heritage related to Georgia's language have been registered as UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity and UNESCO's Memory of the World, including the living culture of 3 writing systems of the Georgian alphabet, the Georgian Byzantine manuscripts, and the Tetravangellian palimpsest.
Then, let's begin our Hangeul and Georgia script special with the Georgian ambassador right now.
So October 9th is Hangeul Day in Korea. So we commemorate the creation of Hangeul on that day. So there is a record that Hangeul was created by King Sejong the Great. And I heard that the Georgian alphabet was also created by a king. Is that right?
That is correct. In fact, the exact date of the creation of the Georgian alphabet is unknown. However, the Georgian historian from 11th century, Leonti Mrgvlovani, he associates the creation of Georgian alphabet with the reign of Parnavas I of Iberia, who reigned in 3rd century before Christ. However, there are still some scholars and some language experts who believe that the Georgian alphabet was actually created in 4th century AD.
There are differing opinions about the origin of the Georgian script, but it is presumed to have derived from Greek, as it follows the order of the Greek alphabet. However, the shapes of the letters themselves are not at all like Greek, so it's assumed to have been created independently. Initially, the Georgian alphabet had 38 letters. It now consists of 33 letters with 5 vowels and 28 consonants. The Georgian alphabet has 3 writing systems: Mkhedrul, Nuskhuri, and Mkhedrul. Mkhedrul means capital letters, and it's the oldest Georgian script, with straight lines, mostly horizontal or vertical, and meeting at right angles. In Nuskhuri, there is a noticeable tendency to try to simplify the shapes of Mkhedrul. Letters vary in height. They are slanted to the right and have an angular shape. The script was mostly used for religious documents or decoration. Mkhedrul means cavalry or military, and is the script used in modern Georgia. It served a secular function and became the most widely used Georgian script since the Middle Ages. Because the 3 writing systems served different functions, they continued to coexist. The default script in the Georgian school curriculum is Mkhedrul. Basic knowledge of the Mkhedrul and Nuskhuri scripts is acquired at school while studying Old Georgian literature. Theological educational institutions use all 3 writing systems. Meanwhile, the living culture of 3 writing systems of the Georgian alphabet was registered as a UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity, because it's a very important element that forms and determines Georgia's cultural identity, and it contributes to the integration of Georgian society.
Currently, we have 33 letters in the alphabet. So we have 5 vowels and 28 consonants. And what is fascinating is that in Georgian alphabet or Georgian language, every single letter has its own corresponding sound.
That's right. Georgian is one of the rare languages in which the pronunciation of phonemes is appropriately reflected in the corresponding graphemes. So letters are always pronounced exactly as written. The 33 letters, including 5 vowels and 28 consonants, are pronounced as individual phonemes.
So basically it is pretty simple and straightforward. But of course, sounds could be challenging for many to pronounce. But really, Georgian alphabet is one of the most perfect alphabets in the world. And in fact, the oldest findings of inscriptions from Georgian alphabet, they go back to 1st and 2nd centuries AD. So it has almost 1900 century history. And this really leads many scholars to believe that the Georgian alphabet was actually created during King Parnavas' reign. So as I mentioned, in the 3rd century before Christ. So it really shows that Georgia had an alphabet about 24 centuries ago. In 2016, Georgian alphabet was inscribed in the UNESCO's cultural heritage list of cultural heritage of humanity.
In Korean, when we first learn in Korean language, we start with 가나다라 바바사 아자차카
Yeah.
타파하. So, do you have things like this in Georgia? How do you pronounce your
So basically, alphabet, it's 33 letters as I mentioned. It sounds as A, B, G, D, E, V, Z, T, I, K, L, M, N, O, P, Ž, R, S, T, U, P, K, R, H, Š, Č, Z, C, Č, H, J, H.
Sounds very similar.
Yes, no, well, for us, again, Korean language is not entirely different, but again, considering that there are nuances, especially when you write, like pronouncing the written is slightly different and challenging because we're used to reading as we write. For instance, again, as I mentioned, we write one letter, it just has one corresponding sound. So when you write a letter, for example, A, you just say A. And it does not matter with which letter you say it and with which combination you write it. So any single word that you write in Georgian alphabet will be pronounced exactly the same way. So every letter will have exactly the same sound.
I asked the ambassador if he could write Georgian and tell us the pronunciation.
My name is Nuri. Nuri.
Yes. So for example, your name has 4 letters, right? 4 sounds. Basically, it would be 4 letters as well. So in Georgian, if I would write, this would be 4 letters. So this is one. Nu. Ri.
In Korean, I write like this. This is the consonant.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. This is a short, let's say, name and easy to write. But some names, for instance, they have much more. You use much more characters and letters, right, to make that sound. In Georgian, every single word that you take will have exactly the same amount of letters as you hear the sound. So for example, if you say Korea, right, you have K, O, R, E, A. You have 5 sounds and you use 5 letters.
How do you write Korea?
Okay? You write like this.
Also 5.
K, O, R, E, A. So you have like 5 sounds and you have 5 letters. And this does not change.
Oh, that's different.
Let's say even if you take like the long word, for example, Georgia. So Georgia, you write like this. So Georgia in Georgian is Sakartvelo. So if you take it, it's a long word, right? And then it's S-A-K-A-R-T-V-L-O. So you write these letters and you pronounce them exactly the same as letters. So Sakartvelo. Yeah. So in that sense, it's quite simple. So as long as you learn the alphabet, that means you can read and write. Because you only write the sound that you hear.
Did you have any chance to learn Korean? Maybe a little bit?
Honestly, my Korean, of course, is far from what I desire it to be. But I do make an effort. I'm trying to learn Korean, and then frankly, I've watched all the TV series or content in Korean language, of course with English subtitles. I think that way I appreciate more the pronunciation, the tone of the Korean language.
These are some of Korean programs that the ambassador was impressed with recently. You should watch them too.
When I meet people, I always say in Korean, 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
Yes. And also when I say goodbye, of course, it's 안녕하세요, right?
안녕히 계세요.
Yeah. And 감사합니다, for instance. And I also know when I, for instance, introduce myself, say Tarash PAPASKUA, Georgia designating. And yeah, really the basic things. And Yeah, a few others maybe. Yeah.
I have to say today 초대해 주셔서 감사합니다. That's like thank you for inviting us to the
Okay.
embassy.
Yeah.
So October 9th is Hangeul Day in Korea.
Hangeul, Korea's unique alphabet, consists of 14 consonants and 10 vowels. Consonants were made from shapes modeled after vocal organs, such as the throat, tongue, and lips. Consonants with stronger sounds were created by adding additional strokes to the 5 basic letters created in this way. The vowels were modeled after the shapes of heaven, earth, and people, and other vowels were derived by combining the 3 basic vowels. Although Hangeul is a phonetic alphabet, it is written in units of syllables. In other words, rather than writing letters side by side, letters are written in syllable units by placing the initial consonant, first sound, middle consonant, middle sound, and consonant, final sound, in designated positions. Because Hangeul is a writing system that was created systematically, anyone can learn it easily. In addition, Hangeul's originality and scientific value are recognized globally.
I've heard there is a similar day in Georgia. Is that right?
Yes, indeed. On April 14th, we celebrate the Mother Language Day. This is in honor of the events that took place on April 14 in 1978. So in particular, when Georgia was still part of the Soviet Union, Soviet authorities tried to deprive Georgian language of its official status. In response, of course, thousands of Georgians rallied to the streets of capital city Tribilsi. They demanded the withdrawal of the decision of the communist government. And the events especially aggravated on April 14th when close to 15,000 of protesters came out to the streets to protest. And as a result of this strong protest, of course, the communist government was forced to withdraw its decision, and Georgia language was preserved as the official state language of Georgia. I mentioned the April 14 events, which was really the most important date in terms of preserving the official language. But even today, one thing that I would like to particularly highlight is the situation in terms of the Georgian language in Georgia's occupied regions of Abkhazia and Mkhedrul region, which are currently occupied by the Russian Federation. So together with the gross violation of human rights of Georgians that are residing in these occupied regions, they're essentially deprived of the Georgian language, of receiving education in native Georgian language. And so this is a big challenge for all of us, for the government. But we continue to shine light on these violations, to report on these violations, and importantly, to keep the international community informed about these violations. So Georgia is really using all of its means at its disposal, peaceful means, to make sure that these violations do not go without notice, and to try to pressure the Russian occupation regime to seize these violations of basic human rights. So receiving education in your own language is an essential right.
So if there are any viewers who'd like to learn Georgian in Korea, how would they be able to learn here in Korea?
Georgian government is of course also carrying out numerous activities. It is offering different classes, different resources, including online, through applications or websites. And Georgian language is not as widely spoken as Korean, of course, but we are seeing greater interest because of its long history and long cultural identity.
If you go here, you can learn Georgian online.
Are there any Georgian novels or poems or literary works that you'd like to introduce to Koreans?
Well, in fact, I'm really happy and delighted that already in 2016, the most well-known and really the epic poem of Georgia, from Georgian literature, The Knight in the Panther's Skin, was translated in Korean by a Korean professor of Yonsei University, Cho Ju-kwon. It took about 10 years for him to do this amazing work, really. This poem from Georgian literature, Knight in the Panther's Skin, it's been translated in many languages around the world, and I'm happy that Korea was also joined this list. Again, I think with times there will be more and more Georgian literature being translated into Korean. But again, it's a process. We hope that we don't have at the moment any specific work ongoing in that regard, but I hope that in the next few years we'll have more Georgian literature articles or pieces being translated.
To celebrate Hangeul Day, the ambassador will briefly recite the Georgian poem while I will recite the Korean poem.
ვერ დაიჭირავს სიკვდილსა გზა ვიწრო ვერცა კლდოვანი, მისგან გასწორდეს ყოველი სუსტი და ძალგულოვანი, ბოლოს შეყარნეს მიწამან ერთგან მოყმედა მხცოვანი, სჯობს სიცოცხლესა ნაძრახსა სიკვდილი სახელოვანი.
말의 빛 이혜인. 쓰면 쓸수록 정드는 오래된 말. 닦을수록 빛을 내며 자라는 고운 우리말. 사랑합니다 라는 말은 억지 부리지 않아도 하늘에 절로 피는 놀빛, 나를 내어주려고 내가 타오르는 빛. 용서하세요 라는 말은 부끄러워 쓰러지는 겸허한 반딧불빛, 나를 비우려고 내가 작아지는 빛. So, is there a way for the two countries to interact and cooperate their language and literature in the future? Do you have any plans regarding this?
Yes, in fact, promotion of language, Georgian language, or the cultural exchange between Georgia and Korea is, of course, within very much within Georgian embassy's priorities. We hope that in the upcoming years, with the help of Georgian diaspora and engagement of Georgian youth, we'll be able to promote this process. As far as me personally, in fact, I'm very delighted that just last week I attended the opening ceremony of the World Calligraphy Biennale in Jolabokdo, and the organizing committee this year decided to designate a special exhibition hall for the foreign ambassadors in Korea to present their calligraphy works.
Oh.
And I was quite happy that I had a chance to present my own calligraphy work
So did you
in Georgian. Yes,
try
indeed, yes,
the
and
Korean calligraphy?
yes, and I'm happy to share the process of writing, which I have to admit was quite difficult.
Yes, it's not easy for Koreans as well.
Practice makes perfect.
What does it mean to have one's own language?
I think having one's own language is absolutely essential for any state or any society. In fact, preserving and maintaining a language is something that, of course, all the countries around the world are very actively trying and undertaking numerous efforts. Because really, essentially, the language carries the collective memory, the history, the traditions, and it is an integral part of a cultural identity of any nation, right? So, of course, the United Nations is rightly recognizes the importance of maintaining language and fostering linguistic diversity. And then language is the basic right. So it is important that nations around the world maintain the language and promote.
Maybe I should say Madloba.
Madloba, yeah, nasik. Amsahamida.
Talking to the Georgian ambassador while commemorating Hangeul Day, I not only learned a lot about the Georgian alphabet, but also realized the greatness of Hangeul and the Korean language. When I thought about what it would have been like without Hangeul and Korean, I felt even more grateful about being able to express my thoughts and feelings in my own language. Korea and Georgia are two countries that have made efforts to preserve their own language. I hope that using language as a medium, the two countries will become closer in the future.
So this is another verse from a very famous Georgian poet, David Guramishvili. Ismine სწავლის მძებნელო მოყევ დავითის მცნებასა ჯერ მწარეჭამე გლავთკბილი თუ ეძებ გემოვნებასა თავს სინანულის ჯობია ბოლოჟამ დანანებასა ჭირს მყოფილ ხენში შესული შვებად მიითვლივ ნებასა